In this tutorial, we're going to be looking at some of the new authentic brushes in Rebelle 7. Now, Rebelle 7 has a wildly more powerful brush creator. There's the ability for a dual brush. Right here inside of textures, you can turn on dual brush, customize this. There are now background textures. There is a lot of additions to the brush creator that make it even more powerful. With those improvements, the stock brushes have been improved, adjusted, enhanced, and made much better in many ways. So let's take a look at some of those. One of the things you'll notice about how the brushes work in this new version is that they really follow the height, the texture of the paper, and the surfaces that are underneath. Notice as I lightly brush over the top here, it's adding paint to the bumps of this paper. I'm using the HM01 Handmade, which is part of the default set. As I add a little bit more pressure, you can see that we are filling in, we're adding impasto, and getting a very organic, very natural feeling interaction with the paper and the paper surface, just like we would in real life. In Rebelle 7, the paper is playing an even more influential role in creating something that's truly special and truly unique. You'll also notice that the impasto behaves a lot more organically. So notice these thicker points right here. As we paint over it, you'll notice that the paint really cuts through. And you have much more control than you did in previous versions. Let's grab a rake. And let's add a little color. Notice here how much texture we've created on the canvas. Now if we hop over to watercolors, now if we turn up texture influence and visual settings and we add a little watercolor right over the top, let's turn on pigments. All of these textures that we just created play a role in diffusion. Now this feels great. The grunge brushes have even more grungy elements to them. Because of dual brushes, there's additional layering, nuance. Let's take a look at the new metallic brushes. I'm over here adding the metallic color set. You can do this with any colors. This one has some that are familiar for metallics. And up here, we're going to do something new. Here we have round. Let's say I never use round. I can click here on show groups, and I can uncheck round, flat, knife, grunge, rake, dabber, and leave just metallics. This can make it really easy for you to focus on whatever set you're using. So let's grab a couple of these. Now, if I start putting some paint down and I select a metallic color and I go right over the top, you notice that nothing has really happened yet. So in order for metallics to work, you need to go to layers. There's this little icon right here, metallics. And now we have this beautiful metallic paint. I'll go through some of the settings here inside of another tutorial. Now notice as I pan around the canvas, we get these natural reflections. This is ray tracing and it looks amazing in real life. All right, let's do a couple more of these. Beautiful colors and metallics. And look at these brushes. This one I think is my personal favorite. The round brush inside metallics, it has this beautiful texture in the background. I just find it so satisfying. Just the way these colors blend. One of the things I really like about the metallics is black becomes fun, which is such an interesting thing. because in the past, black didn't really inspire me very much. It provided the contrast, but here in Rebelle 7, I really enjoy this. Now, metallics are part of Rebelle 7 Pro, important to distinguish that. All right, so let's add some watercolor over the top of this black. And we're going to put a little bit of water right over the top as well. Now notice that this black has this amazing nuanced color over the surface of the paint. It's got these blues here in the corner and these really deep, rich purples. And as you go over it, you can see that nuance where it could be lost. It adds so much richness to the software. And splats. The level of satisfaction that I get in Rebelle 7 Pro is just amazing. I think that you're really going to enjoy it. Let's look at some additional brushes. For watercolor, I like to turn down texture influence unless I'm working with other layers. If I'm just trying to create a really natural looking watercolor effect. Look how beautiful that is. Now you notice that as I'm painting over the top of the bumps, this is a smudging that's going on. This is one of the new features in the brush creator. This is really cool. It feels just like real life, where if you're going faster, you're pushing a little harder, it's smudging on the bumps of the paper. Now for pencils, I like setting my texture scale down for a more finer grit paper. This gives me that look, the one I'm familiar with from childhood, painting on a fine grit paper, so I can do detailed work, but still having a little bit of that pencil texture there. Now the brush creator has the option for default color. Notice right here, this color. As I switch to the pencils, I want you to watch that color change. That means that every time we switch to this, say we're painting, we come over to a pencil, we know what we want. It comes out the way we would expect when we're using a pencil in real life. If we're not picking up a colored pencil, we want the pencil to have a pencil color. These have a very natural feel. They respond better and more accurately than they did in previous versions of Rebelle. If you want to change a color, it's very easy. You just switch to that color. If you want to change the color permanently, you can click right here. Now if I switch over here to another pencil, I'm on the default color. I switch back, we have the new default color. If I want to restore that to its original, I can click right here and it goes back to the default for that brush. I want to show off the new charcoal brushes because actually this is a significant improvement. So the charcoal brushes, a lot of these use a dual brush, and that dual brush does some very special things. So watch along the edges of this brush. Notice that there's some misting, like you were working with charcoal, and some of the charcoal from your hand, some of the charcoal from the brush falls off onto the paper. You have this extra element that creates depth, it creates realism. You can see it on this brush. You have that smudging that happens when you push over the bumps of the paper. And again, this misting around the outside, the dual brush behavior is very, very nice. It feels excellent. Some of these little things, they're part of what existed in those happy little accidents that happen when you're painting with media and tools that break and get gooped up and have bristles that flip the wrong way and create these little lines and little pieces, splats and textures and accidents that make some of our art not only unique but beautiful in random ways that you can't always replicate in digital art. And this is the first time where I've really felt like that exists. There's that extra life element inside of this software that just makes it so satisfying. Look at this, just right here. Feels very good. So pastels also have been redone. They look great. There's a dust one. Look at this very, very subtle texture. Push harder. Pastel patterns. This one's really neat. There's a whole lot here that we're not going through. So I encourage you to really play around with these. Now, all of these brushes can be customized. You can take a brush, click on the context menu, send it to brush favorites. Favorites can have categories. We'll have a full tutorial on the brush creator coming up soon, where I'll walk through all the different elements, how to control and create your own brushes. To get more brushes, you can click here on the context menu, get more brushes. You can share your brushes right above there. Click here, it'll open up the website. There's a whole bunch of different brushes here that you can check out. You can download these brush packs, clicking the little download arrow, drag that on top of the software. You can also just grab a group and drag it directly on the software and release it. It'll ask you to restart and import those assets for you. All right, if you guys have questions about the brushes inside of Rebelle 7, go ahead and put it in the comment section. Until next time, stay creative and have a wonderful day.